Welcome to the Forgotten Narrator. In the vast, cold expanse of the Warhammer 40k universe, one faction stands out for its relentless hunger and terrifying mindless drive for conquest. The Tyranids. They are a race of alien organisms whose sole purpose is the consumption of entire worlds, devouring everything in their path in a relentless tide of flesh and alien biology. But among this all-consuming swarm, there exists one creature that embodies a different, far more insidious breed of evolution, the Genestealer. Genestealers are more than just another type of Tyranid organism. They are one of the earliest forms of Tyranid life to infiltrate the galaxy, using their unique ability to infect and manipulate other species. From their first terrifying emergence, they have grown into a strange hybrid, both part of the Tyranid swarm and yet independent in their own right. But what if, one day, the Genestealers could rise beyond their traditional role? What if they could evolve to the point where they became the true rulers of the Tyranid swarms, pulling the strings of the hive fleets themselves? Could these master infiltrators, once seen only as a means to prepare worlds for consumption, one day seize control of the mindless Tyranid hives and become the supreme force in the galaxy? This is the story of the Genestealers' evolution, and the terrifying possibility that they might one day dominate their own creators. The Genestealers' origins are shrouded in mystery, but what we do know paints a picture of something far more sinister than just another alien species. They are not native to the Tyranid hive fleets, but rather are one of the most devious and cunning creations in the galaxy. The story of their emergence is as terrifying as it is fascinating, especially when you realize that their existence predates much of the Tyranid swarm's full-fledged invasion of the galaxy. The first recorded appearance of the Genestealers was during an early Tyranid invasion, when they infiltrated human worlds long before the full force of the hive fleets arrived. These creatures, like some sort of twisted predator, didn't simply descend onto a planet with their full force. Instead, they worked in the shadows, manipulating entire populations from within. Through their infectious bite and deadly genetics, they would infect the local population, using their hosts as vessels for future generations. This slow, insidious infiltration is what makes the Genestealers so terrifying. They are patient, careful, and above all, lethal. While the Tyranids themselves are known for their overwhelming strength and mindless unity under the hive mind, the Genestealers are the first sign of something different within the swarm. They possess a terrifying blend of intelligence, adaptability, and raw, unrelenting drive. They are not just the pawns of the Tyranid fleet. They are a specialized weapon, one that works in the shadows, setting the stage for the larger invasion to come. Their first acts of infiltration were a testament to their deadly efficiency. They don't just conquer a planet, they break it from the inside out, turning the very populations they infect into tools of their cause. Over time, this ability to infiltrate and subvert has made them one of the most dangerous organisms within the Tyranid arsenal. Their ability to manipulate entire societies, converting entire swaths of humanity into pawns, has earned them a reputation as a particularly insidious element of the Tyranid fleet. The more you think about it, the more you realize that the Genestealers may not even care about the act of conquest itself. For them, the real victory lies in the careful subversion, the quiet seeding of their influence before the final, consuming tide of the Tyranid swarm arrives. In a sense, they are a shadowy precursor to the larger invasion, sowing chaos and fear long before the hive fleets descend. One of the most remarkable aspects of the Genestealers is their adaptability. They are not bound by the rigid, mindless obedience of the hive mind. Instead, they are capable of incredible feats of evolution, constantly adapting to the specific conditions of the planets they invade. This ability has allowed them to thrive in nearly any environment. Whether it's in the dark, claustrophobic tunnels of a human colony or the lush jungles of an alien world, the Genestealers find a way to dominate. They are not just creatures of war, they are survivors in the truest sense, able to adjust and thrive where others would perish. This adaptability has made them not only a force to be reckoned with, but also a perfect fit for the Tyranid strategy of total consumption. But the Genestealers are more than just a tool in the Tyranid arsenal. Over the years, their role has expanded. As the Tyranid fleets have encountered more and more diverse species, it's become clear that the Genestealers are the ultimate example of evolution in the face of adversity. They have adapted not just in terms of physical traits, but also in their approach to warfare. Where other Tyranid creatures might simply overwhelm a planet, the Genestealers infect, manipulate, and breed chaos in the populations they encounter. They are capable of long-term planning, of seeing the bigger picture, something the more mindless creatures of the swarm cannot do. This shift in the Genestealers' role within the Tyranid hierarchy has led some fans to speculate that, one day, the Genestealers could evolve into something even more terrifying than they are now. What if they aren't just a tool for the Tyranid hive mind? What if they are, in fact, the key to understanding the true potential of the Tyranids themselves? There are theories among the community that the Genestealers are an early attempt at creating a more independent, self-sustaining strain of Tyranid life. If that's the case, then it's possible that the Genestealers could one day break free from the Tyranid hive mind altogether, becoming their own force, one capable of leading the swarm rather than simply following it. But even within the Tyranid fleet, the Genestealers remain something of an anomaly. Their intelligence and ability to act on their own terms set them apart from the mindless drones of the hive mind. The question is, does this make them more dangerous, or is it their greatest weakness? There's a certain paradox at the heart of the Genestealers' existence. They are an organism that thrives in the shadows, yet when they are finally revealed, they bring about the destruction of everything around them. It's as if they were born to be the perfect harbinger of doom, forever caught between the shadows of their own origins and the all-consuming drive of the Tyranid hive. Some fans believe that the Genestealers' adaptability could be the very thing that leads them to dominate the Tyranids. After all, in a galaxy where evolution is key to survival, those who can evolve the fastest, adapt the best, and seize control of their environment are the ones who will ultimately rise to the top. The Genestealers have the intelligence, the adaptability, and the raw survival instinct to do just that. Could they one day lead the Tyranids to something even greater? Could they rise above the hive mind and create a new, more terrifying version of the Tyranid race? One that is as cunning as it is destructive? There is much speculation about the future of the Genestealers, but what's clear is this: they are far from just another piece of the Tyranid puzzle. They are a complex, intelligent, and dangerous organism, and their role within the Tyranid swarm is one that will only continue to evolve as the Tyranids adapt to new challenges and threats. If the Genestealers are indeed the key to the Tyranids' future, then the galaxy should be afraid, for what comes next could be far worse than anything we've seen before. Genestealers are far more than mere tools of destruction within the Tyranid fleet. What truly sets them apart from the rest of the swarm is their astonishing evolutionary traits, both physical and behavioral, which make them some of the most adaptable and dangerous creatures in the galaxy. These traits have allowed the Genestealers not only to survive in a variety of environments, but also to infiltrate and manipulate other species in ways that other Tyranids simply cannot. Physically, the Genestealers are a terrifying combination of alien and insectoid features. They possess a sleek, muscular body that allows for swift, agile movement, perfect for both hunting and ambushing. Their long, razor-sharp claws are not just for rending flesh. They are also used in climbing, as the Genestealers have a remarkable ability to scale walls and other vertical surfaces with ease. This makes them almost impossible to escape once they're on the hunt, as their prey is often trapped in a confined space with no way to flee. Their bodies are covered in a chitinous exoskeleton, giving them added protection against physical harm while also providing them with an intimidating appearance. But what truly sets them apart is their head. Distinct from other Tyranids, the Genestealers' heads are often described as having a humanoid quality to them. Their elongated skulls, sharp mandibles, and glowing, predatory eyes suggest a creature that is not only driven by instinct, but also by a sinister intelligence. But the real genius of the Genestealers' evolutionary traits lies in their behavioral adaptations. Unlike other Tyranids, who are driven by the all-consuming will of the hive mind, the Genestealers retain a surprising level of independence and intelligence. This intelligence is what allows them to infiltrate societies and manipulate populations. The Genestealers' ability to reproduce by infecting other species, especially through their unique genetic imprinting process, has made them a frightening presence wherever they are found. By infecting a host with their own DNA, the Genestealers are able to create offspring that are genetically tied to them, yet still appear to be a normal member of the host species. This allows them to blend in seamlessly with their environment, moving unnoticed until they are ready to strike. The process of genetic infiltration is both their greatest strength and their most terrifying weapon. The Genestealers infect their hosts in a variety of ways, often using a sharp bite to introduce their alien DNA into the bloodstream of their victims. Over time, the infected individuals begin to change, slowly at first, but with increasing speed. Their minds are subtly altered, often becoming fanatically devoted to the Genestealers and their cause. It's almost as if the Genestealers are planting the seeds of their own future society, infecting not only the body of the host, but also its mind. This manipulation of the host species is a form of parasitic dominance that has allowed the Genestealers to infiltrate entire planetary systems, establishing cults and hidden cells that lie in wait for the inevitable Tyranid invasion. These cults are a key part of the Genestealers' evolutionary success. Over the years, they have evolved not only to infiltrate, but to dominate their hosts. The infected individuals, now part of the Genestealers' greater cause, work to spread the infection, often turning their societies into breeding grounds for more of the alien creatures. In some cases, these cults can even overthrow entire planetary governments, leaving them ripe for the Tyranid fleet's full-scale invasion. The Genestealers, in essence, turn entire planets into colonies of their own, laying the groundwork for the swarm's arrival. This ability to turn a world against itself, using nothing but subtle manipulation and parasitic influence, is a trait that few other Tyranid organisms can replicate. Another fascinating aspect of the Genestealers' evolutionary traits is their remarkable adaptability. The Genestealers are not a one-size-fits-all organism. Instead, they can adapt to almost any environment they are placed in, evolving new strategies for survival. Whether it's infiltrating the dense jungles of a jungle world or hiding in the underground tunnels of a massive city, the Genestealers can survive and thrive in the harshest conditions. This makes them one of the most versatile creatures in the Tyranid fleet. Their adaptability doesn't just apply to the environments they inhabit, but also to the species they infect. Over the millennia, the Genestealers have become experts in modifying their tactics and behaviors based on the specific challenges they face. Some fans speculate that this adaptability might be the key to their future evolution. As the Tyranids continue to invade new worlds and encounter different species, the Genestealers' ability to adapt could lead them to evolve into an even more dangerous form. Perhaps one day, they will be able to not only manipulate other species, but also control the very genetics of the Tyranid swarm itself. Could they, in time, become the architects of the Tyranid swarm's future, shaping the entire race to their will? The potential is there, and it's a thought that has sparked much speculation within the Warhammer 40k community. Some believe that, with their intelligence and adaptability, the Genestealers could one day evolve beyond their current role and become the dominant force in the Tyranid hierarchy. What's particularly fascinating is the possibility that the Genestealers' evolutionary success is not just the result of their biology, but also their ability to think and plan ahead. Unlike other Tyranid organisms, which are often seen as simple tools of the hive mind, the Genestealers seem to have a much more calculated approach to their invasions. They don't just rush into battle, they carefully plan, infiltrate, and subvert their targets. This level of intelligence is something that many Tyranids lack, and it's what has made the Genestealers so effective in their role within the swarm. As the Tyranids continue to evolve and adapt to the galaxy's ever-changing challenges, one can't help but wonder if the Genestealers' evolutionary path will lead them to become more than just a tool of the hive mind. Could they one day break free of the Tyranid collective consciousness and become their own ruling faction within the swarm? The potential for such an evolution is tantalizing, and it's a question that will likely remain unanswered until the day the Genestealers make their move. Until then, they remain one of the most intriguing and terrifying aspects of the Tyranid race, and their evolutionary traits are a key part of what makes them so dangerous. The role of the Genestealers within the larger Tyranid hive fleets is one of subtlety, cunning, and insidious manipulation. When the Tyranid swarms descend upon a planet, they do not simply strike like a hammer. The Genestealers, working behind the scenes, prepare the battlefield long before the first wave of the swarm arrives. These creatures are not just part of the swarm, they are the initial phase of the invasion, the harbingers of the true terror to come. The Genestealers are often the first Tyranid organisms to arrive on a world, though they do not immediately begin their full-scale rampage. Instead, they infiltrate the population, establishing their cults in the shadows. Their strategy is simple: subvert and manipulate the local species, ensuring that by the time the main swarm arrives, the planet is already destabilized, its defenses weakened, and its population ripe for consumption. They create a web of influence and control, using their ability to infect and alter the genetics of the inhabitants to turn them into unwitting agents of the Tyranid fleet. It's almost as if the Genestealers are preparing the planet, softening it up before the true devouring begins. This strategy sets the Genestealers apart from other Tyranid organisms, which typically operate with the single-minded goal of destruction. The Genestealers don't just destroy, they manipulate, control, and ultimately guide the population toward its own downfall. By creating these cults, they ensure that when the swarm arrives in full force, the people of the planet are already fragmented, confused, and powerless to resist. This subtlety, this ability to shape the very societies they encounter, has led some fans to view the Genestealers not as mere pawns of the Tyranid hive mind, but as a force that operates on its own agenda, working in tandem with the larger Tyranid fleet, but with its own method of conquest. The Genestealers' role within the Tyranid hive fleets is also deeply tied to the overall strategy of the Tyranids. While the Tyranid hive mind is focused on devouring everything in its path to ensure the survival of the swarm, the Genestealers take a more tactical approach. They understand that the galaxy is a vast and complex place, and in order to truly consume it all, the Tyranids need more than just brute force. They need intelligence, strategy, and above all, patience. This is where the Genestealers come in. By infiltrating planets, setting the stage for the invasion, and ensuring that the Tyranids face minimal resistance, they make the final devouring process far more efficient and effective. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Genestealers' role within the Tyranid hive fleets is their ability to shape the Tyranids' approach to the galaxy. The Tyranid swarm, as terrifying as it is, can be somewhat predictable in its methods. The Genestealers, however, bring a level of nuance and unpredictability to the invasion process. They do not simply conquer worlds, they reshape them from within. By sowing the seeds of chaos and corruption, they create the conditions for a more thorough, more devastating consumption. The invasion becomes not just a matter of overwhelming force, but of careful manipulation and subversion. As the Tyranid hive fleets continue to expand across the galaxy, the Genestealers' role grows even more crucial. They are no longer just the scouts or the infiltrators, they are the architects of the Tyranid invasion. They provide the initial spark that ignites the devastating fires of the Tyranid swarm. In a sense, the Genestealers have become the masterminds behind the scenes, pulling the strings of the swarm in ways that other Tyranids cannot. This level of influence has led some fans to speculate about the future of the Genestealers and their place within the larger Tyranid swarm. Could it be that the Genestealers' role in the invasion is more than just tactical? Could they one day evolve to the point where they are no longer subservient to the hive mind, but rather serve as its masters? The idea that the Genestealers could one day rise to the top of the Tyranid hierarchy, perhaps even replacing the hive mind itself, is a theory that has captivated many in the Warhammer 40k community. Their intelligence, adaptability, and insidious nature make them the perfect candidates to one day lead the Tyranids. Not as mindless drones, but as calculating and ruthless leaders. But for now, the Genestealers remain a tool of the Tyranid swarm, an essential part of the larger strategy. They may not be the ones at the helm of the hive fleets, but they are the ones who shape the path ahead. Without the Genestealers, the Tyranid invasion would be far less efficient and far more destructive. They are the quiet architects of the Tyranid conquest, working in the shadows to ensure that the swarm's invasion is not only unstoppable, but inevitable. In the end, the Genestealers are more than just a footnote in the Tyranid story. They are the beginning, the first signs of the terror to come. As the Tyranid hive fleets continue their relentless march across the galaxy, one cannot help but wonder, what will become of the Genestealers in the future? Will they remain the vanguard of the swarm, or will they one day seize control of the hive mind and become the true rulers of the Tyranids? The possibilities are as endless as the galaxy itself, and the Genestealers' role in the Tyranid invasion is far from finished. The Genestealers' cults are one of the most terrifying and insidious elements of the Tyranid invasion. At first glance, it might seem like a simple parasitic relationship, but in reality, these cults represent a much more complex and manipulative form of parasitism that extends far beyond mere survival. The Genestealers, with their unique ability to infiltrate and control entire populations, have turned humanity's greatest strength, its sense of unity and belief in community, into a weapon for their own purposes. They are not just invaders, they are the puppeteers, manipulating every string, every action, until the entire society is nothing more than a tool for the Tyranid swarm. When you look at the cults, it's easy to see that they are not just groups of mindless followers. These cults are built on a foundation of secrecy, subversion, and above all, manipulation. They thrive on the human desire for something greater, something that offers power, purpose, and meaning in an otherwise chaotic universe. The Genestealers offer this to their followers, a promise of salvation, of rebirth, and most disturbingly, the illusion of freedom. The Genestealers have perfected the art of manipulation. They infect the host species, turning them into devoted followers, often through a process of gradual indoctrination and subtle genetic alteration. The infected individuals, referred to as brood brothers or cultists, believe that they are part of something greater, that they are the chosen ones who will bring about a new era, a new world. They are not merely slaves to the Tyranids, they are true believers in the cause, their minds warped by the influence of the Genestealers. What makes this manipulation so sinister is the way it mirrors the very nature of human society. The Genestealers tap into the deep-rooted fears and desires of the human psyche. They exploit the inherent weaknesses in human nature, the need for belonging, the desire for power, the craving for knowledge, and twist them into tools of destruction. These cults often begin in the shadows, in the fringes of society, where the downtrodden and the disenfranchised gather. The Genestealers don't need to forcefully impose themselves on a planet. Instead, they whisper their promises into the ears of the disillusioned, those who feel neglected by their governments, those who seek power and glory beyond the boundaries of their ordinary lives. The Genestealers give them what they want: a cause, a purpose, and most importantly, a way to feel special. The manipulation doesn't stop at just the individuals who are infected. Over time, the Genestealers' cults grow in influence, spreading across entire populations. The cults become networks of power, with their own hierarchies, rituals, and systems of control. To the outside world, they may appear to be just another religious or political faction, but beneath the surface, they are preparing the way for something far darker. The Genestealers use their cults to weaken the social fabric of the planet, undermining its institutions, turning its people against each other, and leaving them open to the inevitable arrival of the full Tyranid swarm. The cultists don't even see it coming. They are so consumed by their belief in the cause, by their devotion to the Genestealers, that they fail to realize they are mere pawns in a much larger game. What's particularly chilling about the Genestealers' relationship with humanity is how symbiotic it is, in the most twisted sense of the word. The Genestealers rely on humanity's ability to form strong social bonds, to create communities that can be infiltrated and manipulated. Humanity's greatest strength, the ability to organize and unite, becomes its greatest weakness in the face of the Genestealers' cunning. They use this strength to spread their influence, to create the very cults that will eventually allow the Tyranid fleet to descend and consume the world. It's as if humanity's own nature is being weaponized against itself, twisted and corrupted by the very traits that make it strong. Fans of Warhammer 40k have long speculated about the true nature of the Genestealers cults. Some believe that the cults are merely a means to an end, a tool for the Tyranids to prepare the galaxy for their invasion. But others argue that there is something deeper, something more profound about these cults. Could the Genestealers, in their own way, be trying to shape humanity? Could they be using the cults not just to weaken humanity, but to force it to evolve, to push it toward something greater? There's a theory, popular among fans, that the Genestealers see humanity as more than just a food source. They might recognize the potential within humanity, its adaptability, its drive for survival, and seek to mold it into a tool that will ultimately serve the Tyranid cause. In this view, the Genestealers cults aren't just about manipulation. They are a form of evolutionary guidance, a way of forcing humanity to evolve in ways that benefit the Tyranid swarm. However, there are those who believe that the Genestealers' influence is much darker and more insidious. They argue that the Genestealers' goal is not to help humanity evolve, but to consume it entirely, to wipe away its culture and identity, leaving only a husk of what once was. These theories suggest that the Genestealers' manipulation of humanity is not for the sake of the Tyranids alone, but for something far more insidious, a total, all-encompassing subjugation of humanity, one that strips away everything of value and leaves nothing but a population of mindless slaves, ready to be devoured by the Tyranid swarm. The cult's reach is not limited to just the population at large. Over time, these cults often infiltrate the highest echelons of power on a planet. Cult leaders can worm their way into positions of political and military influence, using their newfound power to further the cause of the Genestealers. These leaders are often some of the most fanatical and dedicated to the cause, willing to sacrifice everything to see the swarm's arrival. This makes the Genestealers cults a far more dangerous threat than just a simple rebellion. They are not just seeking to overthrow a planet's government, they are seeking to dismantle the entire societal structure, replacing it with their own twisted vision. One of the most frightening aspects of the Genestealers cults is their ability to remain hidden for so long. The cults are often able to operate in plain sight, hiding behind the guise of legitimate religious or political movements. They are masters of subterfuge, able to blend in with their surroundings and gain the trust of their fellow citizens, all while secretly preparing for the Tyranid swarm's arrival. The level of deception and manipulation required to maintain such secrecy is staggering, and it speaks to the Genestealers' truly terrifying nature. They are not simply mindless creatures. They are planners, schemers, and manipulators, capable of achieving their goals without anyone suspecting a thing. The relationship between the Genestealers and their cults is without a doubt one of the most disturbing aspects of the Tyranid invasion. These cults are not just a means of preparing the way for the Tyranids. They are a testament to the Genestealers' cunning and intelligence. They take what is most human, twist it into something monstrous, and use it to their advantage. It's a parasitic relationship, yes, but it's also a deeply manipulative one that allows the Genestealers to operate in the shadows, influencing entire worlds without ever being noticed. The question remains, how far will the Genestealers go in their manipulation of humanity? Could they one day rise above their role as mere servants of the Tyranid hive mind and become the true rulers of the Tyranids themselves? The cults they create might just be the beginning of something much darker. The idea that Genestealers could one day evolve beyond their current role in the Tyranid hierarchy is a tantalizing thought, one that has sparked much speculation and discussion among fans of Warhammer 40k. While they are currently a vital component of the Tyranid hive fleets, serving as infiltrators and scouts, there is a growing belief that their intelligence, adaptability, and their deep connection to the Tyranid race could one day position them to take a more prominent role, perhaps even to rise to leadership of the entire swarm. It's a theory that raises intriguing possibilities for the future of the Tyranids and the galaxy itself. At the core of this theory is the Genestealers' intelligence. Unlike many Tyranid organisms that are entirely mindless, creatures driven only by the hive mind's will, the Genestealers retain a level of autonomy and intelligence that sets them apart. This intelligence is not simply tactical, but also strategic, enabling them to plan long-term infiltration and subversion campaigns that go far beyond the immediate concerns of the swarm. They possess a level of cunning and foresight that is almost alien in comparison to other Tyranid species. While other creatures in the Tyranid fleet blindly follow the commands of the hive mind, the Genestealers seem to have an almost predatory sense of the larger picture, a quality that has led some fans to speculate that they could one day rise above the swarm's collective will. But what could this future look like? Would the Genestealers simply continue to serve as the advanced vanguard of the Tyranid swarm, or is there a possibility that they could evolve into something far more significant? Could they break free from the hive mind's influence entirely and lead the Tyranid fleets, directing the swarm with their own intelligence and purpose? This is where the speculation becomes truly fascinating. Some believe that, over time, the Genestealers' unique genetic makeup and intelligence could allow them to evolve into a form of leadership independent of the hive mind. Instead of serving the collective will, they might become the architects of the Tyranid swarm's future. The Genestealers' adaptability is another crucial factor that feeds into this theory. As we've seen throughout their history, the Genestealers are far from static creatures. They are ever-evolving, constantly adjusting to the challenges of their environments and the species they encounter. Their ability to adapt so rapidly and efficiently to different planetary conditions has made them one of the most successful organisms in the Tyranid fleet. Over time, it's possible that the Genestealers could evolve to the point where they are not only physically adaptable, but also capable of shifting their behavioral traits, allowing them to step into a leadership role. This adaptability could manifest in a number of ways, from the development of new forms of communication within their species to the ability to influence and manipulate the hive mind itself. But the most interesting question is whether the Genestealers' unique evolutionary path could eventually allow them to control or even supersede the hive mind. After all, if they are capable of influencing the societies they infiltrate, of creating cults and shaping entire populations, is it so far-fetched to imagine that they could eventually seize control of the Tyranid race in the same way? The Genestealers' manipulative nature, their ability to operate in the shadows and subvert even the most well-established systems, could be the key to their future rise to power. What if they could somehow influence the hive mind, shaping its will to align with their own goals? If the Genestealers were ever able to achieve this, they could become not just the leaders of the Tyranid swarm, but the creators of a new kind of Tyranid society, one driven not by blind obedience, but by intelligence, adaptability, and cunning. Many fans of Warhammer 40k have suggested that the Genestealers' ability to manipulate and subvert could eventually lead to them becoming the true rulers of the Tyranids. There are theories that suggest the Genestealers were actually created with the potential for leadership in mind, that they were meant to be the future of the Tyranid race. The idea that they are more than just a tool of the hive mind, that they could one day rise to be the architects of the swarm's evolution, is one that has captured the imagination of the fan base. It's easy to see why. The very traits that make the Genestealers so terrifying in the present, their intelligence, adaptability, and manipulative nature, could make them the perfect leaders of the Tyranid swarm. But there are also darker, more unsettling theories that suggest the Genestealers' potential for leadership could come at a great cost. What if, in their quest for power, they begin to break free from the hive mind entirely, creating their own hierarchy and system of control? Would they become a rival faction within the Tyranid race, leading to a civil war among the Tyranids themselves? This idea is chilling, especially when you consider how relentless and unyielding the Tyranid swarm is in its hunger for consumption. A power struggle within the Tyranid fleet could result in a terrifying new chapter in the galaxy's history. Of course, there are those who argue that such an evolution is unlikely, that the hive mind's control over the Tyranids is absolute, and that the Genestealers will always remain subservient to the collective will of the swarm. The hive mind, after all, has always been depicted as a vast, all-encompassing intelligence that controls every Tyranid organism. To break free from this control would require a fundamental shift in the Tyranid race's genetic makeup, a change that could take millennia to achieve, if it is even possible at all. According to this view, the Genestealers' role will always be as agents of subversion and manipulation, working in the shadows to prepare the way for the larger Tyranid invasion. They may be highly intelligent and adaptable, but they are still, in the end, part of the greater whole, bound to the will of the hive mind. Yet, even in the face of such arguments, the potential for the Genestealers to evolve into something far greater than their current role remains an intriguing possibility. Their intelligence, adaptability, and deep connection to the Tyranid race make them a species that is constantly evolving, constantly changing. They may be the perfect candidates to rise beyond their current status and lead the Tyranid fleets into a new era of conquest. What if they are not just tools of the hive mind, but the key to unlocking the true potential of the Tyranid race? This is the question that continues to captivate the Warhammer 40k community as fans speculate about what the future holds for the Genestealers and whether they could one day become the true rulers of the Tyranid swarm. Only time will tell, but one thing is certain. The Genestealers' potential for leadership is a theory worth exploring. There's a question that has been lingering in the minds of many fans of the Tyranid race for years, one that taps into the deepest, darkest possibilities of what the Tyranids are capable of. Could the Genestealers, these cunning and manipulative creatures, eventually become the masterminds behind the entire Tyranid swarm? Could they rise above their role as the advanced vanguard and overthrow the hive mind itself, seizing control of the Tyranid fleet and leading it toward a new, terrifying future? At first glance, the idea seems far-fetched. The Tyranid hive mind is portrayed as a vast, all-encompassing intelligence that directs the swarm with unmatched precision and purpose. It's a mind without limits, operating on a scale that dwarfs the individual consciousnesses of every Tyranid organism. The idea that a group of creatures, smaller, less powerful than the great bioforms of the Tyranid fleet, could ever overcome such an entity seems almost impossible. But the more you think about it, the more the theory begins to make sense. The Genestealers, as we've discussed, are an anomaly within the Tyranid race. They are not mindless drones, blindly following the will of the hive mind. Unlike the majority of Tyranids, whose actions are governed by the collective consciousness, the Genestealers retain their own intelligence and autonomy. They infiltrate and manipulate, operating with a level of cunning that no other Tyranid organism displays. They don't simply follow orders. They plan, they strategize, and they execute with a terrifying degree of precision. This intelligence, coupled with their remarkable adaptability and parasitic nature, suggests that the Genestealers may be the perfect candidates to rise to power. What if, over time, the Genestealers' manipulation of the hive mind's directives grew more sophisticated? What if they were able to manipulate the hive mind itself, steering its vast intelligence in the direction they wanted it to go? Could they, in time, begin to exert control over the Tyranid swarm, not through brute force, but through subtle influence and clever manipulation? This is a question that some fans believe could hold the key to understanding the future of the Tyranids. The idea of the Genestealers taking over the hive mind isn't as outlandish as it might seem. After all, the Genestealers have already shown a remarkable ability to manipulate and control. They infect entire populations, bending them to their will and creating cults that operate in the shadows, all while remaining hidden from the rest of the galaxy. What if one day they applied that same manipulative power to the hive mind itself? The hive mind is a collective consciousness, yes, but it's not invulnerable. It operates through the collective actions and will of countless Tyranid organisms. The Genestealers, with their unique abilities to subtly alter and influence the minds of those around them, could find a way to break into the hive mind and control it from within. Perhaps one day, they could even create their own version of the hive mind, one that operates with their own intelligence at its core. Fans have theorized that the Genestealers could achieve this by developing their own psychic abilities, something that is not beyond the realm of possibility for a species as adaptable and evolving as they are. If the Genestealers were to tap into the psychic potential of the Tyranid race, they could use it to pierce the psychic veil of the hive mind, entering its consciousness and asserting their control over the Tyranid swarm. The Genestealers, with their mastery of subversion and manipulation, could become the perfect puppet masters of the hive mind, steering the swarm in whatever direction they choose. Another possibility is that the Genestealers could evolve into a form of leadership that works in tandem with the hive mind rather than opposing it. Instead of overthrowing the hive mind completely, they could find a way to coexist with it, leading the Tyranid race through a combination of psychic influence and strategic direction. The Genestealers' intelligence and adaptability could allow them to make decisions that benefit the swarm in ways the hive mind cannot. They could evolve into a ruling caste within the Tyranid race, one that guides the swarm through cunning and intellect rather than brute force. In this scenario, the Genestealers would become the true leaders of the Tyranids, directing the swarm's efforts with precision and foresight, rather than the mindless obedience that has characterized the hive mind's rule. There's also the theory that the Genestealers could use their unique relationship with the Tyranid race to create a new, more advanced form of the swarm, one that is capable of greater intelligence and individual autonomy. The Genestealers, with their ability to manipulate and control, could evolve the Tyranids into a species that no longer needs the hive mind to function. Instead, they could create a decentralized form of leadership, one that allows the Tyranids to operate more independently while still maintaining the same goals of consumption and expansion. In this vision of the future, the Tyranid swarm would no longer be a mindless, unified force, but rather a collection of autonomous organisms working toward a shared goal under the guidance of the Genestealers. However, there are those who argue that such an evolution is impossible. The hive mind, they believe, is an entity too powerful to be manipulated or overthrown. It has a level of control over the Tyranid race that is absolute and unyielding. The Genestealers, for all their intelligence, are still part of the Tyranid swarm, and their connection to the hive mind is too deep for them to break free from it. According to this view, the Genestealers will always remain subordinate to the hive mind, working as tools of the greater swarm rather than as its leaders. They are, at the end of the day, just another part of the Tyranid race, and they can never truly escape the will of the hive mind. Despite these arguments, the idea of the Genestealers becoming the masterminds behind the Tyranid swarm is a compelling one. It taps into the fundamental nature of the Tyranids as a race of constantly evolving organisms, capable of adapting to any environment and overcoming any obstacle. The Genestealers, with their intelligence, adaptability, and manipulation, represent the future of the Tyranid race, a future that is not bound by the hive mind, but guided by the cunning of the Genestealers themselves. As the Tyranid swarm continues to spread across the galaxy, one can only wonder what the future holds for the Genestealers. Will they continue to serve as the vanguard of the Tyranid invasion, or will they one day rise to lead the swarm, casting off the control of the hive mind and forging a new path for the Tyranids? The possibilities are endless, and the thought of the Genestealers taking control of the Tyranid swarm is a chilling one. But whether they can truly become the masterminds behind the Tyranid race remains a question for the future. A future that, with each passing day, seems to bring the Tyranid swarm ever closer to the galaxy's doorstep. When it comes to the Genestealers, the Warhammer 40k community is rife with theories and speculation about their future. Fans have long debated what role these creatures might play in the future of the Tyranid race, and whether they could evolve beyond their current role as infiltrators and vanguard. As with any iconic faction in the Warhammer universe, the possibilities are endless, and the fan theories surrounding the Genestealers are both intriguing and chilling in equal measure. One of the most popular theories is that the Genestealers could eventually evolve into the leaders of the Tyranid swarm. Fans who support this idea point to the Genestealers' intelligence, adaptability, and ability to manipulate entire societies as evidence that they are far more than just the pawns of the hive mind. The theory goes that, over time, the Genestealers could evolve into a form of leadership that operates alongside or even independent from the hive mind. In this scenario, the Genestealers would become the true masterminds of the Tyranid race, taking control of the swarm and guiding it toward a new future. One driven not by mindless obedience but by cunning and intelligence. The idea of the Genestealers becoming leaders is not without its merits. After all, they have always shown a remarkable degree of intelligence compared to other Tyranids. While the hive mind controls the majority of the Tyranid organisms, the Genestealers have always operated as a breed apart. They are capable of thinking strategically, manipulating entire populations, and planning long-term. These traits set them apart from the rest of the swarm, which is largely driven by instinct and the collective will of the hive mind. Fans who champion this theory argue that the Genestealers' ability to plan and adapt could allow them to one day rise above the hive mind and take control of the Tyranid race. Some fan theories even suggest that the Genestealers could eventually break free from the hive mind entirely, creating their own version of the swarm that operates with more autonomy. This would be a dramatic shift, of course, and would require the Genestealers to evolve not just in terms of intelligence but also in their biology. If they were able to gain control of the hive mind or even replace it, they would become the undisputed rulers of the Tyranid race, capable of directing the swarm according to their own will. This would not only change the future of the Tyranids, but also the entire galaxy, as the Genestealers' cunning and strategic minds would allow them to take on a much more calculated approach to their invasions. On the other hand, there are theories that suggest the Genestealers' future will not involve taking over the hive mind, but rather evolving into a new caste within the Tyranid race. In this scenario, the Genestealers would not seek to overthrow the hive mind, but would instead form their own leadership structure, operating alongside it. This could involve the Genestealers becoming a ruling caste, one that directs the Tyranid swarm through intelligence and strategy rather than brute force. The Genestealers, with their ability to adapt to various environments and their uncanny ability to manipulate other species, could become the brains behind the Tyranid invasion, leaving the mindless creatures of the hive mind to carry out their orders. This theory has gained traction among fans who believe that the Tyranids, as a race of organisms that constantly evolve and adapt, could eventually break free from the need for the hive mind's centralized control. The Genestealers, with their intelligence and adaptability, would be the perfect candidates to lead this new form of Tyranid swarm, one that is more decentralized and operates through strategic intelligence rather than pure instinct. In this view, the Genestealers would become the true leaders of the Tyranid race, guiding the swarm to greater heights and more efficient conquests. There's also a more sinister theory that suggests the Genestealers' ultimate goal is not leadership, but something far darker. According to this theory, the Genestealers are not trying to become leaders in the traditional sense. Instead, they are working to undermine the hive mind and create their own twisted version of the Tyranid race, one that is far more ruthless and efficient in its consumption of the galaxy. Fans who support this idea point to the Genestealers' parasitic nature, arguing that they are not interested in maintaining the Tyranids as a collective force, but rather in taking complete control. This theory posits that the Genestealers could use their intelligence and adaptability to create a new, more deadly swarm, one that operates according to their own will and leaves the hive mind behind as a mere relic of the past. Such a theory plays on the fear that the Genestealers are not just another part of the Tyranid swarm. They are something else entirely. They are a species that has evolved to manipulate, to control, and to subvert. If they were ever to fully break free from the hive mind, they would become the ultimate threat in the galaxy, a force that would challenge not only the Imperium, but all life in the galaxy. This dark vision of the future plays into the idea that the Genestealers, far from being the subservient vanguard of the Tyranids, are actually the harbingers of something far more terrifying. Another theory that has gained some traction among fans is the idea that the Genestealers are already playing a far more important role than we realize. According to this theory, the Genestealers' true purpose is not to serve the Tyranid hive mind, but to prepare the galaxy for something much greater. They are not simply setting the stage for the Tyranids' invasion. They are laying the groundwork for a new order in the galaxy, one that the Tyranids will eventually dominate, but in a much more subtle and calculated way. The Genestealers are preparing the galaxy for something bigger, a grand scheme that goes beyond mere consumption. The Genestealers, in this view, are the architects of the Tyranids' future, shaping the galaxy to fit their vision before the full invasion begins. The theories surrounding the Genestealers' future are as varied as they are fascinating. Some fans see them as potential leaders of the Tyranid race, while others believe they will remain an essential part of the swarm, manipulating and infiltrating as always. But one thing is clear. The Genestealers are not a simple, mindless organism. They are intelligent, adaptable, and capable of evolving in ways that other Tyranids cannot. Whether they rise to leadership or remain in the shadows, one thing is certain. The Genestealers will play a crucial role in the future of the Tyranid race, and their evolution is something that will shape the galaxy in ways we can only begin to imagine. The possibilities are endless, and that uncertainty is what makes the Genestealers so compelling, so terrifying, and so essential to the future of Warhammer 40k. As we wrap up our exploration of the Genestealers and their potential to rise to power within the Tyranid swarm, we must confront some rather unsettling possibilities. These creatures, born of an intelligence and adaptability unlike any other within the Tyranid race, have already proven themselves to be far more than just the vanguard of the Tyranid invasion. Over time, their role within the swarm has evolved, becoming less about mindless obedience and more about strategic manipulation and cunning. The question now is, could these creatures, with their eerie blend of intelligence and parasitic influence, eventually rise to control the entire Tyranid fleet, overthrowing the hive mind itself? There's a dark allure in the idea that the Genestealers could one day lead the Tyranid swarm. Fans have long speculated that their evolution could eventually result in a new breed of leadership within the Tyranid race, one that operates not through the collective mind of the hive mind, but through the intelligent, insidious manipulation of their own kind. The very traits that make them terrifying, intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to influence others, could eventually lead them to a level of control that no other Tyranid organism has ever achieved. These traits have already allowed them to infiltrate and subvert entire populations, so why couldn't they do the same to the Tyranid swarm itself? Could they slowly, quietly, and with terrifying patience, work their way into the core of the hive mind and take control of the Tyranids, reshaping the swarm into a new, more calculating, and intelligent entity? The thought of the Genestealers overthrowing the hive mind and becoming the true rulers of the Tyranid race is as chilling as it is fascinating. If the Genestealers were to seize control, they would not simply direct the swarm with the same mindless drive for consumption. No, they would likely lead with a new vision, one that could involve far more strategic thinking and cunning. Their deep understanding of infiltration and manipulation would undoubtedly bring about a more calculated, efficient approach to galactic conquest, one that might leave entire civilizations ensnared before the swarm even arrives in full force. It's not hard to imagine the Genestealers orchestrating entire invasions from the shadows, playing the long game, and weaving a web of control that extends far beyond the immediate threat of destruction. It's a possibility that forces us to confront just how terrifying these creatures truly are. They are not mere invaders. They are potential masters of the Tyranid race, capable of leading their swarm to even greater horrors. But even as we entertain this terrifying thought, there are those who argue that such an evolution is not only unlikely, but impossible. The hive mind, after all, is an entity of unimaginable power, a collective consciousness that holds the Tyranid race together. It is, in essence, the driving force behind their entire existence, the core of their being. To overthrow it would be to disrupt the very foundation of the Tyranid race. Some fans speculate that the Genestealers, despite their intelligence, are ultimately bound to the hive mind, and their role within the Tyranid hierarchy is forever defined by this connection. They may be more adaptable, more intelligent, and more manipulative than other Tyranids, but in the end, they are still part of the greater whole, subservient to the will of the hive mind. This argument points to the core nature of the Tyranid swarm. It is not a race driven by individuality, but by collective unity. Every Tyranid organism, from the most basic gaunt to the towering biotitans, is part of a unified system, working in harmony with the collective will of the hive mind. The Genestealers, no matter how intelligent or adaptable, are still a part of this system, and their ability to lead the Tyranid swarm is limited by their place within it. To break free from the hive mind would not just require a new level of evolution, but a fundamental shift in the very nature of the Tyranid race itself. This is a theory that has its merits, as it suggests that the Genestealers, for all their potential, will always remain tools of the hive mind rather than its masters. However, the idea of the Genestealers as subservient to the hive mind doesn't sit well with everyone. Many fans argue that the Genestealers' unique abilities and intelligence make them far more than just another cog in the Tyranid machine. The fact that they are capable of infiltrating and manipulating entire societies, breeding chaos from within, suggests that they are a far more complex organism than most Tyranids. Some even believe that the Genestealers are the first real sign that the Tyranid race could evolve beyond the constraints of the hive mind. They could, in theory, be the progenitors of a new type of Tyranid intelligence, one that is not bound by the collective will, but is capable of independent thought, strategy, and even leadership. This idea raises some very intriguing possibilities. What if the Genestealers were, in fact, designed to be the first step in the Tyranids' evolution? What if they were created not just to infiltrate and manipulate, but to eventually take control of the swarm and lead it to a new stage of evolution? It's a possibility that would explain their unique traits, their intelligence, their adaptability, and their uncanny ability to control and manipulate. Perhaps they are not just another part of the Tyranid fleet, but the very key to the Tyranid future. Over time, they could evolve into a leadership caste, one that directs the swarm not with mindless obedience, but with the calculated precision of intelligent beings. Ultimately, we must consider the terrifying potential of the Genestealers. Even if they do not eventually overthrow the hive mind, they are already one of the most dangerous organisms in the galaxy. Their ability to infiltrate, manipulate, and control is unparalleled, and the way they operate within the Tyranid hive fleets makes them a force to be reckoned with. They are not mindless drones. They are the architects of subversion, the quiet puppeteers behind the Tyranid invasion. Whether they remain the loyal servants of the hive mind or one day rise to become the true rulers of the swarm, the Genestealers are a terrifying force, one that could reshape the future of the Tyranid race and the galaxy itself. The possibilities for the Genestealers are endless, and that's what makes them so captivating. Their intelligence, adaptability, and potential for leadership make them one of the most fascinating aspects of the Tyranid race. Whether they remain in the shadows, working in tandem with the hive mind, or whether they rise up to take control of the entire swarm, one thing is certain: the Genestealers are a force that will continue to haunt the galaxy. As they evolve and adapt, who knows what future awaits them? The future of the Tyranids, and perhaps the galaxy, may one day rest in the hands of these terrifying, intelligent, and manipulative creatures. The Genestealers represent one of the most terrifying and fascinating elements of the Tyranid race, with their potential to shape the future of the galaxy in ways we can barely imagine. Whether they remain pawns of the hive mind or rise to lead the swarm, their influence is undeniable. If you want to stay up to date on the latest theories and insights into the world of Warhammer 40k, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join the conversation. What do you think the future holds for the Genestealers? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.